What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content. And a thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Once again, big shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about the Dolphins. All right, so after I did the episode yesterday, which I actually shot earlier in the day, Mike Tomlin stepped down from the Pittsburgh, and I was like, I should have waited. Usually I do it at night when the whole news cycle goes through, but yesterday my day was a little crazy, so I did it early. And then that story dropped, so now I'm dropping this story a little bit late. So Mike Tomlin has obviously stepped down. He's one of the most tenured coaches. Him and John Harbaugh were their two most tenured, and now they're both in the cycle. The question is, should Miami pursue Mike Tomlin? I'm going to say no for my own want, but also the team's want. If you remember, way back when Mike Tomlin was actually trying to be a coach, he was a special teams coordinator, I believe he was. He talked to Miami, and Miami said basically that he was like too hip hop, that they use the term something like hip hop for the team, and they end up going in a different direction. Like, they liked him. They thought he had good energy. They thought he could be a leader of men. He impressed in terms of like his acumen and all that. But they were like, nah, this guy can't represent a team. Now, that's a long time ago. That's almost 20 years ago. Can things change? Of course they could. But I don't think it's a like culture fit. I don't think it's a team fit. I don't think what he is what the team needs to be going forward. I like Mike Tomlin personally. I think he's going to take a year off to be in TV, and he's going to make a lot of money in TV. And you actually might not see him coach again. He could pull a Cowher where he goes on TV. He just stays there. I do think he will get pulled back at some point, though. I think he'll go to TV for a year, and in a team that's like a solid team, but wants really like more of a CEO type of coach, we'll go pursue him, and he'll be there for another couple years. And then I think he'll actually like be done coaching, because he's already won a championship, been to 2 Super Bowls. He has all the wins. He has no losing records. We know all the accolades of Mike Tomlin. But the playoff success has not been great. But that hasn't precluded anybody from getting jobs, because most coaches are not good in the playoffs. Like, if you look at these coaching candidates, like, hey, you haven't either made it to the playoffs or been good in the playoffs. So I don't hold that against him. I don't think we shouldn't hire him because he's not a quality coach. I just don't think it's where the team wants to go going forward. And even though the name would be a big splash and ESPN would be down here for all the games, and I'm sure they'll throw Pittsburgh on the schedule next year just to see him go back, I get the selling point of it. I just don't see like the fit of it. And honestly, I think he'll be a better fit on TV. I would love to see him on TV. I think he'll be great. I don't know if he'll do play-by-play, because play-by-play is a different game than being in the studio. Play-by-play, you got to be sharp. You can't be telling these long stories. I would love to hear it, though, just because he knows all the coaches in the league currently. He's coached against a majority of them. He may have, like, I just want to hear, we used to game plan to go against Andy Reid, and, we had this thing about, I would just like to hear that part of the game. I think it would add an interesting insight to it. Tom Brady gives you some of that when he does his broadcast about, I played this defense before, I know this coordinator, or that guy coached me. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Versus, back when I played in 71, like, you might be a good commentator, but it feels like you're a generation removed, right? But again, to wrap up, I do not think we should pursue Mike Tomlin. I don't think we're going to. And I do think he will be in a booth near you very shortly. Now, someone who I know a lot of people are very high on is Kevin Stefanski. We actually wrapped up our interview with him today. And Kevin Stefanski's career, I don't know. It's very difficult for me to like really rate it, because he was with Cleveland. And I think Cleveland is generally a dysfunctional organization, kind of like the Jets, who we all know are terrible. But Kevin Stefanski has 2 Coach of the Years, but he also has 1 playoff win in 6 years, and he has a bunch of years with under 5 wins. So it's like 5 wins or under, then 2 Coach of the Years, but then 1 playoff win. And some people think Stefanski is like candidate number 1, and some think I don't want him near my team. He's very polarizing. I think part of it, and this is not big J journalism, I think his demeanor isn't like the best. Like, the way he just looks like he's disinterested in the sport. And I think when people see him on the sideline just not really emoting, when you hear him in post game, like, Belichick got away with that, but Belichick had a weird charm to his curmudgeonness. I can't really explain it, but when you saw Belichick, it was just like, he's got cut off sleeves. Like, he didn't care about how he looked. Like Stefanski, that's not his thing. I don't know if he's putting on a facade, if he's just like, I'm gonna be really stoic on the sideline, and then behind the scenes I'm like this really like turned up dude. Or if he just has a, you know, RBF and it just looks weird on the sideline. But I think that's part of the bad marketing behind it. I also think that when the team has been bad in Cleveland, a lot of it hasn't got back to him. It's like, oh, well, how could they be good? The Deshaun Watson contract is an albatross, which is true. Worst contract in sports. As bad as Tua contract is, Deshaun Watson's contract is worse. And Stefanski had to coach under that contract and had to actually play Deshaun Watson, who somehow became exponentially worse once he got the money. I mean, virtually unplayable. He was the worst quarterback in the league. I know people are like, well, what about next year with Cleveland? Should they play Deshaun Watson? Why? The last time you saw him, he was the worst quarterback in football, just making terrible mistakes. Whatever athleticism he had at Clemson in the first few years at Houston, I don't know what happened. He looks like he runs a 4.9 right now. He can't read defenses. I don't know what happened. So now when you're Stefanski coaching him, it looks like, hey, are you good at your job? Because that guy, I remember being a good quarterback, but he's not a good quarterback under you. I don't know who to put the blame on. I think it's mostly on Deshaun. He had a lot of off the field stuff that I think some of it is still pending. And that, that messed your head up, I assume. But also, there was talent in Deshaun, and I've seen good coaches take marginal talent and do something with it. That's the reason why he got coached his last coach of the year, is that he got to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. But we all know for whatever good game Joe Flacco is going to give you, 2 or 3 picks right behind it. That's Joe Flacco's bag. That's his game. You don't have to ask about it. He will give you a couple picks, and if you drop him, that's on you. But he's going to throw it to you. So the fact that they made it to the playoffs with Joe Flacco was like, man, this guy got to the playoffs with this guy who we thought was washed up. Here's your coach of the year. But then the last couple, so I don't know. Like, it's hard to, would he be good for Miami? I don't know. I don't know if I want him to be the person to cultivate Quinn Ewers, but I've seen him do a lot with little, and I've seen him do nothing with little, like within a couple years of each other. And I don't know which is him. It's very Jekyll and Hyde. So I'm not honestly either way on this. I think there's probably places he can go that he would be better suited for. I don't know if his personality works in Miami, but I didn't think Mike McDaniel's personality would work in Miami. And you can argue to some degree it never did. And to some degree you could say it did because he won a little bit. But I don't know. I'm very on the fence. Like, usually I give you all definitive. Like with Mike Tomlin, I'm like, no. With like Clint Kubiak, I'm like, yeah. With Flores, obviously no. Right? I can give y'all like where I am exactly. Stefanski, if I found out we hired him tomorrow, I would say, okay, let's give him a chance. That's where my head's at on that. I'm not a no on this, but I don't know which version of him we're going to get. Because even this past year with Cleveland, I felt like the way they handled that situation, I don't know what was going on. I went to UCF, so Dylan Gabriel, for those of you who don't know, started his college career at UCF. So y'all know, you're out at UCF, people like Brandon Marshall, shout out to you. If you went to UCF, I ride with you. I'm from Gainesville, so UF, you know what we do there. But I was rooting for Dylan Gabriel, but I never thought Dylan Gabriel was better than Shador, just because I watched him up close and personal, and then I watched him in his college career. And the evaluation of the quarterback, I think, will be important wherever he goes, especially wherever he goes, there is no quarterback. I don't know if Quinn Ewers is our quarterback going forward, but if it's up to Stefanski to accurately deduce which quarterback, if it's Ewers or whoever we bring in, is the right one, I don't have recent evidence to suggest that he's going to do that well. And that's why I'm like, I don't know. If I was a team like Baltimore, I actually might consider Stefanski. I think it makes more sense because you know who the quarterback is. It's just, how do you make the offense work around him? We are hoping that Quinn Ewers is a diamond in the rough and we can use a 7th round pick quarterback and then reallocate resources around him to build out a good team. That's the hope. Anyone who comes in to coach this team is like really hoping that we hit on Quinn and then we can just build the team around there. Cheap quarterback for the next 4 years. Like, that's the goal. But if it's not a Quinn situation, then we have to go draft and get another guy. And they drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. And even as a Dylan Gabriel supporter, he was not a 3rd round pick. And that scares me a little bit. So all in all, I would say that's not my first choice or second choice, but if it was a 3rd or 4th choice, I'm not mad at it. Football playoffs are here, and Underdog's the best place to get in on all the action. You guys know this. Playing Underdog is really easy. Just pick if your favorite player will go higher or lower on various stats. If you choose your picks well, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Now, I'm going to go above and beyond once again this week with my own personal picks. Now, last time I went 3-2. I'm not happy about it. There was one pick I was on the fence about, and true to form, it went the opposite way. Could have been 4-1. So this week, the Patriots are playing the Texans. Y'all know I love defense. The Texans are easily the best defense in the league, and that very much colors how I'm going to do this evaluation. I think Drake May is going to be MVP, and Drake May is awesome. I do not think Drake May will be awesome in this game. Let me say that right now. Because of that, I have him going lower in many stats. So passing yards, 228.5. Drake May, 7 times this year went above that passing yard mark. And that's solid until you realize that means it's 10 games he did not. So the odds are more likely than not, he will not go over that passing mark. Most teams, on average, get about 200 yards or less against Houston. I don't believe that you can really throw on Houston effectively. So I don't think this is going to be a high volume passing yard game. I do think this would be a defense field position based game. I don't know what the conditions are going to be like in Foxborough. It's going to be cold. So that obviously changes it. When it's cold, you're throwing through the air, ball gets heavier. Teams typically want to ground and pound. Honestly, I think both of these teams kind of want to play a physical brand of football in this game because it's a tough defense, tough old line running game, Vrabel, tough guy. This feels like a trench-based game where Drake May will get some money on the edges. So I'm going to go lower for passing yards. Passing touchdowns, I'm actually going higher. And I was really debating about this. It's 1.5 touchdowns. I don't think he'll throw for a lot of yards, but I do think they'll score some points because I don't know what CJ Stroud is doing on offense right now. He's playing a different game where I feel like he's purposely trying to sabotage his defense. And I do think he will turn the ball over. And I do think there'll be chances for the Patriots to get a short field position. Their kick return unit is fantastic. So I think they'll be in position to score a number of times. So I do think he's going to end up throwing 2 touchdowns in this game, even though I think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring game. This is the pick I'm the least sure about. But I'm taking a gut flyer here that he's going to get to that 2 touchdown mark. So I'm going to go higher in touchdowns. Yards, 32.5 rushing. I'm going higher. I mentioned on last week's show, quarterbacks run more, excuse me, during the playoffs. And Drake May ran a lot last week, which we all saw. And I think he's going to have to run a lot because I think he is going to be under duress. They're going to be after him in this game. I love Houston's defense. So I have him going over 32.5. They didn't have longest rush for this one, so which is good because I'm like, is he going to have a long run or is it going to be a bunch of I'm trying to avoid sacks run, right? Where you see someone coming on your backside and you're outrunning them for 3 or 4 yards, so you don't give up a sack, but you definitely aren't throwing the ball down the field. I'm going higher, on 32.5 rushing yards. For completions, 19.5. So he, in 13 games, had less than 19.5 completions. It's a lot of games to not hit that completion mark. It's a lot of games. And honestly, he only had high completions against bad defenses. Obviously, Houston's defense is not bad. I'm going to go lower for completions. I think this is again, ball control, run the ball, 3rd and 4, try to keep the chain moving type game. I don't see a scenario where he's just lighting up the team. So I'm going to go lower for completions. And finally, rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, 0.5. I'm going to go lower. If he runs a touchdown, that would be surprising. Not that he can't do it. I just think that they're going to have, when they're near the red zone, they're going to have someone spying him, most likely Al-Shaair. I don't think Drake May is faster than Al-Shaair, and I think he doesn't want to run into that. Could he do a quarterback sneak? Of course he could. This is always a possibility. This is one of those where you're more likely to not to be lower, but if it goes higher, you take the L, you kind of do what you do on that. But I think it's unlikely he will get a rushing touchdown. So to recap, 228 passing yards, I'm going lower. 1.5 touchdowns, I'm going higher. 32.5 rushing yards, I'm going higher. 19.5 completions, I'm going lower. And rushing touchdowns, 0.5, I am going lower. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code FOOTBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries once you make your first $5 play. That's promo code football fan. Underdog. Make picks. Want some money? Okay. Final segment. We're going to talk about something we don't normally talk about. This is the succession plan of the team at the highest level. We're talking about getting a coach now. Just got a new GM. Right now, Stephen Ross is the owner, but Stephen Ross is not a young man. And he's already thinking about who's going to run the team in my absence. Now, I live in LA. You guys know about the Lakers, one of the best organizations of all time, them and the Celtics, right? Dr. Buss was there for, I think, like 10 championships, maybe 11. And then he passed the team on to his kids, and that was a disaster initially. His sons did not know what they were doing. And eventually, Jeannie took over, and she's the one that brought in LeBron. They won the title in 2020, and now it's Luka and LeBron farewell tour. In our Dolphins case, Stephen Ross is obviously a big-time mogul. We got, Hard Rock, the team, F1, all that stuff. People have been trying to buy the team from him. Allegedly, again, this is from him. I don't know if this stuff is true. This could just be him artificially pumping the price. Who knows? Allegedly, he's been offered up to $15 billion. $15 billion for the team, rights, and racetrack. That's a lot of money. Okay, $15 billion is more than generational wealth. That's a couple of generational wealth, right? And he's said, no, I'm going to keep the team and the family. So his plan is when he steps down or unfortunately passes away, that his son-in-law, Daniel Silman, will take over the team. Now, Daniel has worked with him before. He's worked in venture capitalism, and he's actually been a part of the soccer division of his company. He works with La Liga, Spanish soccer, and he sold rights to ESPN. He has a partnership joint venture deal with his own company. So he's been on that side of it. He's not an ex-player. He's not technically like even a football exec now. He just worked with him before. He's a businessman. As a businessman, he gonna make some money. Which, as a fan, I don't know how I feel about it. Because Stephen Ross wasn't really a football man when he got the team. So, I mean, if you feel good about Stephen Ross's tenure, then fantastic. If you feel like maybe I want more football people involved in my football, that's a way to feel as well. But he's a Michigan man, of course, because that's what they do. And I'm curious, there was no timeline given of this. So I don't know if he's going to step down while he's still alive, or will it just be in my will if I pass away, you take over the team. If he does it while he's alive, then I would be very curious how that all unfolds. Now, Daniel has been involved with the CEO, like GM and all that search. He's one of the many, many people. This has been a murky conversation about the transition team that we currently have. Because we have former players, we have obviously Ross, we have there's a lot of people involved in this. What I haven't seen anywhere is the split of influence. Because they're saying, oh yeah, Daniel's involved in the GM search and the coach search. And I'm like, to what degree? Like, is he just in the room? Is it hey, do you like his vibes? Like, I don't know his overall involvement. Is it, you need to see how this meeting goes because you will be doing this one day? Involvement where you're just kind of watching and learning on the fly? Are you asking questions? I don't know. And I do think that's been intentionally kind of obscured because we don't want to know who's pulling the strings. As of now, the way we're being discussed is that this is a unit of people. There's a team of people working as a collection to come to the best answer. And it might very much be there's one person making a decision and everybody else is just kind of like, give me your input, but I'm going to do what I want. It could be that. And it honestly could be 5 votes. If we get 3 out of 5, that's the way we're going. I don't know yet. I don't know how deep Daniel has been involved in this. This is the first I'm even hearing that he's a part of this transition team in the first place when this article came out. So that's the plan going forward. His daughters are going to be part of the ownership situation as well. I don't know if it's like just an equity stake or if they're going to have say-so in the company in terms of like who we pick and that kind of stuff. I think that's to be determined. But it's good to know that there is a plan in place. It won't just be, hey, Stephen Ross passed away and then the team's just up for sale and it's going to be a free-for-all. Like he knows how I want this to go down. And so it's good to know that he's planned that part forward. Hopefully we put that much due diligence in our head coaching search because we kind of want to know who's going to be coaching the team soon. But I'm happy that I know what the plan is. Don't know Daniel's actual football credibility. Can't speak on it. But we'll find out sooner than later, I guess. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.